Ask me some questions about autism.
Yeah, I'm ready. Let's go. I experience stigma a lot at school because I might act in a certain way. Like, I'm always energetic and I'm quite loud, and people might mistake that as being naughty. People just need to understand it's something that's real and it's something that you can't control. Or if someone's talking to me, for example, I might not necessarily hear what they're saying, and it's not me being rude. I just can't hear everything necessarily straight away, which can be mistaken as rude behaviour, which it isn't.
So at school, whenever I try to talk, usually at school I'm not really under pressure, so I'm usually fine talking. But when I am under pressure, people just interrupt me, and then I never actually get a chance to speak.
People think you're faking it. You can't fake this all the time. It's not possible.
People stereotype autism, like they say things like, you don't look autistic. And when I was in school, people would bully me because I was like too quiet. So they'd say, oh, she's always upset, she's always sensitive, she's always really quiet. Like when I got diagnosed with it, I remember people saying, you don't look it, but obviously like autism has like a whole spectrum, so it like there's no look for it. Obviously like everyone with autism and also ADHD is different.
I am quite careful about who knows about my diagnosis of ADHD not because I think people would necessarily have a negative opinion of me, but because the lack of understanding of what it really is causes assumptions or stereotypes to be placed on me. So, for instance, unless you're educated in it, you might think I'm just super chatty, can't organise myself, can't do anything on time, and can't focus. And that's just not true. So I guess my experience of stigma is that I actively hide sometimes my diagnosis. In other areas, I'm totally open about it. But it's more, I guess, sometimes professionally, I worry that it will stop me from being viewed in the way I want to in the workplace. I often don't wear a sunflower lanyard because I think I will be viewed as having less authority, which might be my own opinion of it, but I guess that would be my experience of stigma. And that I think I worry that I wouldn't be trusted as much. I'm yet to have any stigma directed towards me from an external perspective. I haven't had anyone, say directly to my face that they don't think I can be as able to do something. But subconsciously, I worry about the bias, so I kind of hold back. So I guess that would be my experience. I don't know if that's, yeah.
I wish people knew that autism isn't a bad thing and there's nothing to be ashamed of, and it's also a whole huge spectrum, so there's not one type, there's loads of different types, and it's not a bad thing. And I think people, when they get diagnosed with it, I think people should be happy about it and not ashamed.
It affects your life. Well, that's what I think. It makes things harder for you. Once I asked my mum, is there any way to get rid of autism, and she said, no, no, there isn't.
So autism is basically, so when you see bright lighter than other people, for example, that light, and also when you hear sounds, but basically you're more sensitive.
What I'd really wish people to know is that it isn't just things that hold me back. I think with the title of attention deficit hyperactivity disorder, they think it's just going to stop you from being able to do things or negatively impact your life. But on the flip side, from what I know of my own experience and people I know with ADHD, I would not be as creative, quick thinking, funny, witty. I wouldn't have as much energy. I wouldn't be able to think outside the box as much. I wouldn't be the kind of friend I am to other people. I wouldn't be as empathetic without it. So I think in that sense, I wish people knew that it enhances my personality and it enhances who I am, and it makes me a candidate for things, or it makes me able to do things that a neurotypical might not be able to do. And it doesn't make it better or worse. I just mean that I am who I am, for better, for worse, because of my ADHD, because of those things.
The community could better support me by understanding autism and being more aware of it.
People need to know that autism isn't an insult, because so about a month ago, so one of my friends, so as a joke, so we wrote loads of insults on his book, on his front cover, and one of them was being autistic, and that's because people don't even know what autism is.
For people just understanding what these conditions actually are would like really help, and like maybe school assemblies explaining it, but like in ways that they'd understand, like maybe from people's personal experiences rather than just them thinking what they think. So I think other people having education will benefit everybody else, if that makes sense.
Well, for starters, autism is something that makes like things harder for you. Like you need a bit more like support and everything, like friends to help you, teaching assistants, headmasters, like all of those people. Even family can help you.
I think everybody needs to be educated to a much higher standard on what it means, because there will be peers in their year groups. They will come across adults, children, young people, older people with ADHD, and my experience, though it was some time ago now, of what I learned ADHD to be in school was that it meant you can't sit still, you can't focus, you're a bit too chatty. My knowledge of autism was bad in social situations. My knowledge of something like OCD has to have everything clean. And since then, and since, learning and educating myself and being educated, you realise it's so much more than that. So I think if the community made a real, and this isn't the people in it, it's a higher problem, it's a systemic thing. I think if it was a priority to truly educate people on what neurodiversity is and what it means, it would serve us all better, because everybody would have that understanding, that greater sense of empathy and, not sympathy is the wrong word because it makes it seem like it's a bad thing, but yeah, empathy of what people go through. And in that, I think trying actively to make your community accessible in whatever way you can, understand that people have differences and make it more open. We live in a very neurotypical world because until a few years ago, people didn't know that neurodiversity existed. So how can we actively start to make it a neurodiverse world as well? So instead of those with autism, ADHD, dyslexia, dyspraxia having to fit into that mould, making things that are available to all of us, truly. And to be honest, I don't know the answer. I have ADHD and I still don't know the answer. But I think the more conversations we have, the better it will be.
So here at CAAS, it's really important for us to deliver a whole range of services that will support anyone affected by either condition, ADHD or autism. So to do that, we offer around 37 projects per year, which really addresses everything from supporting families and parents to supporting young people in different services to then moving on to supporting adults. And Kieran works on the youth project.
So within the youth project, we do both groups and individual sessions. Within individual sessions, we may explore their diagnosis with them. So we may look at themes like anxiety, social communication, sensory issues, and we develop their knowledge around their diagnosis. We also might highlight particular issues that are coming up at school or college for them and help support them with that, and offer them ongoing emotional support over a set number of sessions. Within groups, it's far more the case that we're looking at them socialising, having a place to belong, and again, looking at their diagnosis, but in a group setting.
I think it's really important for us to address our three aims, and the first being to support. So we would do that by providing a safe place where they can come and share all their worries and concerns, and to look at ways that they can meet others and get connections and learn different skills. So we also educate, so it's educating them in their conditions, but also the outside community. So it's important for us to connect with schools and with other professionals to make sure that they're aware of how the conditions impact young people and adults and children. And finally, to empower everybody who comes to us so that they can be their own advocates and be a voice for themselves in what they need.